Coronavirus cases are on the incline as restrictions have been pulled back. We'll show you the impact of reopening the economy in Kentucky.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for joining us this evening for Mountain News at 11. Well, as restrictions and lockdowns continue to be eased, coronavirus cases are rising in nearly half of U.S. states, according to an Associated Press analysis. In Texas and Florida are among the several states seeing their highest numbers of new cases since the pandemic began. Officials in Houston say the area is nearing a disaster and that they may have to use a sports stadium as a temporary hospital because of a record rise in infections. CBS News correspondent Danya Backus has more from Los Angeles tonight.
This is essentially a statewide yellow light.
Oregon is putting a 7-day pause on plans to further lift coronavirus restrictions.
The noticeable increase in COVID-19 infections in Oregon over the past week is certainly cause for concern.
Oregon and other states, including Texas, Florida, and the Carolinas, are reporting spikes in new cases.
I think as a state, we have taken important steps to slow the virus, but those numbers and trends are sobering.
14 states have seen a rise in hospitalization since Memorial Day, and the U.S. death toll is now expected to reach almost 170,000 by October. That's more than 50,000 additional deaths over the next few months.
We've already uncorked the genie. We got our wish, which was to end the home quarantine orders, and now we're seeing people treat that as if COVID-19 is no longer an issue, and that's far from the fact.
The CDC issued new guidelines, including bringing your own food and drinks to a cookout, waving instead of hugging people, sanitizing hands after using an ATM, and for travelers, taking the stairs instead of a hotel elevator. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says his state now has the lowest infection rate after being the epicenter earlier in the pandemic.
New Yorkers stepped up. They were smart. They were disciplined. They did what they had to do. And we have to stay there.
As part of that effort, New York's transit system is expanding a program using ultraviolet light to disinfect subway cars between service runs. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, the coronavirus has infected more than 2 million people in the United States and killed at least 114,000. Well, Governor Andy Beshear did not hold a coronavirus press briefing today, but he did provide new updated numbers. Governor Beshear announced 331 new cases. That brings the statewide case count to 12,166. He said that number is larger today due to a backlog from numbers yesterday. There were 4 new deaths today, and now the death toll sits at 497. 3,390 Kentuckians have recovered from the virus, and 315,068 tests have been administered throughout the state. For more on COVID-19, you can head on over to our website at WYMT.com. With positive cases of COVID-19, which included both residents and staff. Today, the nursing home decided to do something a little fun to celebrate being COVID-19 free. WYMT's Dakota Makris was there and has more.
I think back to what was like a war zone.
That's how Kevin Bryant describes the COVID-19 outbreak at Jackson Manor.
Once we first announced COVID, the atmosphere had changed. Staff were afraid not only for the residents, but they're afraid for themselves.
With more than 40 positive cases recovered, the battle paid off. And celebrated with a parade.
Just a joyous day. It's a day that's been that we've been waiting for. Today is just about positivity, celebration, getting families involved.
Jerry Pearson's parents tested positive for COVID-19.
It was a scary, scary time. And we just started praying. We asked everybody in the community to pray.
Those prayers answered.
Wonderful, like a weight's been lifted because, we're getting a day closer to being able to actually touch them and feel them.
The feeling of love in the air.
My heart is full. My heart is full. I'm just so thankful.
Hoping this parade is just the beginning of many celebrations to come. In Jackson County, Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
The nursing home plans to dedicate a memorial bench to the 13 residents who died from COVID-19.
Saw that sunshine return again today, and we're going to see that sunshine continue heading into the weekend. It was just a gorgeous day, very comfortable, and we're going to see that continue for actually the next several days. Taking you up to some cameras first, though, looking along US 119, US 23 over into Pikeville. You could see plenty of sunshine earlier today. Few clouds, but really seeing those clouds clear out, especially as we head into the rest of the overnight hours. Into Whitesburg, 61 degrees, feeling like 61 as well with those lower dew points. We're going to continue to see that humidity really not in our area, but check out that temperature trend. Lower 70s up into Jackson, Prestonsburg, and up into Moorhead. Lower 60s, though, down into Harlan, just like we saw over in Whitesburg, 63 in Williamsburg, 66 over into London. So those valleys are definitely a little bit on the cooler side. Now, most of us tonight are going to continue to see those temperatures drop with those clear skies, upper 50s, lower 60s to start out your Saturday. Plenty of sunshine, though, in store heading throughout really the majority or really all of your Saturday. That sunshine even continue heading into your Sunday. See those temperatures already into about the mid to upper 70s by right around noon. And like I said, plenty of sunshine. The cooler trend or really the comfortable temperatures continue. Could see a few stray rain chances possibly Sunday and Monday, but really I think we'll remain on that drier side. I'll have a full look at your weekend forecast and next week's forecast coming up in a little bit.
All righty, Paige. Thank you, ma'am. Well, the statue of Confederate President Jefferson Davis will be removed from the Capitol Rotunda in Frankfort. An 11-1 vote this afternoon determined the statue will be taken down and moved. Governor Beshear called a meeting virtually on Zoom with the Kentucky Historic Properties Advisory Commission to consider the removal of the statue that has been in the state capitol since the late 1930s. It was a bipartisan vote, and both Republicans and Democrats were vocal in their support for it.
We need to learn from Jefferson Davis. We need to learn from all the sins of our past, no doubt about it, but not in this space. And so I'm happy that this is a wonderful day, that in a way, Abraham Lincoln will not have to look over his right shoulder anymore at Jefferson Davis behind him.
Only one person voted against the removal of the statue, saying he joined the commission board to protect history and not remove it. Well, tonight in Whitesburg, a couple hundred people gathered for a protest to support the Black Lives Matter movement. The event lasted almost 2 hours. Many people spoke, including local musician Nick Jefferson and Senate candidate Charles Booker. WYMT's Emily Bennett was there and gives us a look at the protest.
Free! Free! What does that mean?
A community showing support to their black neighbors.
This is honestly the first time we're seeing something like this, all the states coming together.
Organizer Deja Hogg says the racism she faces in eastern Kentucky is mostly unspoken.
People just kind of swept it under the rug, and so we've always had to just keep the peace and not really tell our truth, and so today's kind of about that, so we can speak out.
But on Friday night, many took to the stage to share their stories and to educate.
Even when a name isn't trending, continue to support a movement that intends to create change.
White privilege does not mean that your life hasn't been hard. It means that your skin color isn't one of the things making it harder.
Local musician Nick Jefferson shared a poem he wrote after watching the video of George Floyd.
I'm tired of watching murder, white spilling black blood. Humanity has got a problem, and everybody has to help.
And Senate candidate Charles Booker called on Kentuckians to continue to fight.
Look at our history. If we got to stand on the tracks to stop a coal company from running us over, we gonna do it. If we got to march in the streets to demand justice and accountability, we are gonna do it.
And as they march the streets, Hogg hopes this shows change is coming.
It gives me hope that, like, my little cousins, you know, they're biracial, and now maybe they won't have to go through as hard as a time as we had to, you know. Maybe we can change this for them.
In Whitesburg, Emily Bennett, WYMT Mountain News.
The protest included a vigil for Breonna Taylor and 8 minutes of silence for George Floyd. Well, this afternoon, Mayor Greg Fisher of Louisville signed Briannas Law, which bans no-knock warrants after the death of Breonna Taylor. The series of police reforms was passed by Metro Council last night and officially became law around 2:30 this afternoon. As the bill passed last night, the group of protesters in Jefferson Square erupted into cheers and applause. Fisher said the passage of Briannas Law is just one small victory in the fight for justice, peace, and equality. Well, the Laurel County Sheriff's Office is investigating a shooting that left one person dead and another injured today. Deputies say they were responding to a domestic dispute at a house this afternoon. 59-year-old Charlie Sizemore was pronounced dead at the scene from a gunshot wound, while 56-year-old Elaine Sizemore was also shot and airlifted to UK Medical Center in critical condition. Investigators say Charlie shot Elaine and then turned the gun on himself. Deputies confirmed 9 children were outside at the time of the shooting. Deputies say the public is not in any danger. Well, tonight, a Louisville man faces charges of human trafficking involving 19 and 17-year-old girls. The Attorney General's office worked with the LMPD Special Victims Unit after receiving information from Norton Children's Hospital and other groups. 34-year-old Christopher Bauda is also charged with using an electronic device to lure a minor for sex, and authorities of electronic communication system to procure a minor for sexual purposes, which is a Class D felony. Additional charges are expected as the investigation continues. Well, the teen behind a deadly shooting at a Kentucky school learned his fate in court earlier today. A judge sentenced Gabriel Parker to 2 life sentences for the 2018 shooting at Marshall County High School. Parker opened fire on his classmates, killing Bailey Holt and Preston Cope. More than a dozen others were wounded. In April, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder and 14 counts of assault. Friday, the parents of the 2 students killed gave emotional statements before the courtroom.
I could write for days, and you would never know everything about our precious Preston, nor the pain we feel with our every breath. And now Maddox must go on living life alone without his big brother, and it's so unfair. He was our firstborn and has missed every second of every day of our lives. I don't see good when I look at Gabe Parker. He has no remorse and no conscience. I see evil, pure evil. I pray daily that he never gets out of jail and spends the rest of his life behind bars.
I would never have thought when I kissed her that morning it would be the last time. Bailey made me a mama for the first time. Our daughter was the sweetest, kindest, most precious soul you would ever meet.
Parker also received an additional 70 years in prison for the 14 counts of assault. Even with 2 life sentences, he may not spend the rest of his life in prison. He will be eligible for parole in 20 years. Well, school is out for the summer, but 2 Pike County students have decided to spend time learning a little more for the good of their community. WYMT's Buddy Forbes visited Elkhorn City to see what idea the kids are cooking up.
It started as a pretend business for 2 fifth graders.
I like the baking part. Yeah, and I like giving people stuff. And then probably gonna make it even messier.
But Amelia Stiltner and Lily Stacy had plans that went beyond the imaginary.
We decided we should make homemade goods and give them to my neighbors.
The duo started making Mondays a little more special for their Elkhorn City community.
Because people are sick or they're just down and stuff.
Finding their own recipes,
I think we will.
making homemade treats, and delivering them to neighbors with a little note of encouragement.
I think the people act grateful because they just like whenever we take them baked goods.
They have made brownies, candies, lemonade, and Monday's treat will be homemade cookies. Made with patience,
slow,
partnership,
okay, should be good,
and a little parental financing.
They're just happy that we're doing this and that we're learning like what to do and that they got these treats and stuff.
Letting the girls give back.
I feel grateful because people, there's sometimes you can't go out and get food, so we just make them for them.
While perfecting their business model.
Okay, you don't have to show this part.
In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, the girls say they are also available to host a cooking show if you are looking for talent, but they are a package deal. Well, coming up at 11 as we get closer to summer, find out some helpful tips to help you stay safe while out at the lake.
And those comfortable temperatures continue as we head into the weekend. I'll have a look at that weekend forecast coming up.